please.
Do you do anything to get your audiences ready for the new works you're going to be presenting, since it's such a shift from the programming you've done in the past?
Well, we always do for everything we do. There's a lot of content always available on our website. We send things to people before they attend. The only problem with that is I can't make them read it. I think there's a lot of content available, but again, if you're not ready to engage, there's very little I can do for you. I can only provide the material, and I think there's quite a lot available for everything we do. And obviously, if something is a little bit more difficult, we would try to provide content that make things clearer. But in the end, intellectual involvement, I think, is a prerequisite to interact with art. Like, if you're not ready to engage, it's probably not going to do a lot for you. And that's also a decision that you make. And it's a decision that I or we can't make for you. In the end, it's your personal predisposition to engage with any given work of art, and be it like one of the paintings here, or an opera or a play or whatever it is. I mean, the advantage of a painting always is that if it doesn't speak to you right away, or you don't like it, you can walk over to the next painting. I mean, the situation in the theater is that you need to stay at least until intermission. And that, people tend not to leave in the middle of a show. And that's a good thing, but I guess if you don't find an entry point, you will sit there with growing frustration. And it might make you very angry. In the same way, if you find an entry point, you might find it an incredibly rewarding experience. And I can kind of guide you to that entry point, but I cannot make you walk through the door. So it's very much a take and give process. And it's a lot about openness too. I mean, there's things, and I know that from my own opera and theater going experience, I'm no different. When I go to see things somewhere else, I'm a member of the audience like anyone else, and I have no advantage. I mean, obviously I have an advantage for my own shows because I produce them and I'm very intimately involved in the creative process. But when I go somewhere else, I usually know no more than anybody else who is there. And it happens to me. If I don't find that door, I get frustrated or I get very engaged if I find it. So, but I've tried to train myself to kind of fight the frustration when it happens and say, okay, maybe there is something that I'm not getting, and maybe there's something I need to find here that will bring me into the show. But for us as producers, it's difficult. I think if we lose a member of the audience in the first 10 minutes, we need to work super hard to bring them back into the game. That's just the process. And so for something a little bit more difficult, I just would hope that people come with a slightly more open mind, and that they would also, engage with us after the fact. What we'll do for something like Pyramids and Thisbe, we'll do a couple of post-show talks that I will do, and Johannes Debus, our music director, will do, for the audience to come and, after the fact, help them to clarify some things, or just have an open conversation about it. Obviously, there's a pre-performance talk for every single performance we do, which is attended by a lot of people. So I think there are tools, but people come to me very often and say, I'm going to my first opera. What do I have to prepare? And I think that's one of the big misunderstandings about opera. Knowledge doesn't necessarily provide you with an advantage, because the connection happens emotionally in the first place. And I think it needs to be emotional first and intellectual second. I think both are equally necessary. But if you don't connect to it emotionally and it's only an intellectual exercise, you're not going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I think that's really important.